Hey, how's it going? Carson back here with another live stream. Tonight, I'm just going to be showing off some antique store haul stuff. I got a whole bunch of WhatNot stuff. I got some reads, and then I brought up a topic last week I wanted to talk a little bit more about, as you probably saw in the thumbnail. What number one issues are number one, basically? So basically what I mean by that is like, what is a good first issue that started like a big, long, ongoing run? I'm not talking about like a number one of a mini series or whatever. I want like 25 or more issues. Like how good is good for a first issue is what I want to find out tonight. So I picked 5 books that I want to highlight and talk about. And I really hope that, people show up in the chat and let me know what their picks are. Just leave a comment down below if you're watching this on Rewind, like what are some of your favorite number one issues, basically. Before I get into the reads, I do want to say hi to the chat here. We got J Hood Creative. What is going on, J Hood? Definitely one of my favorite live shows. Usually goes live at I think 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time Saturday mornings, or every other Saturday if he's still in his regular rotation. So definitely check out J Hood's channel. And then we got the Great Legend Show. What is going on, Legend? He says Bing and listening, and then I don't know, driving. Okay, he's driving and listening. Be careful, man. Don't type and drive. Just listen, pay attention to the road, be safe. So, and J Hood is listening while painting. That's awesome. One day I'll have to get a piece of art from J Hood because I love me some art. We're going to talk about all kinds of stuff I like here tonight. So thank you guys for joining me in the chat. As usual, we'll go ahead and start by talking about a few things I read this week. Busy as I am, didn't get a chance to read tons, but I did try to make a little bit of time today, just mainly so I'd have something to talk about tonight. So we'll go ahead and start with Dark Crisis, now officially christened Dark Crisis on Infinite Earths number 4. So it is not just Dark Crisis anymore, even though the reprints will have you think otherwise. So I guess get your Dark Crisis not on Infinite Earths books while you can, I guess. But nonetheless, I actually kind of enjoyed this one, actually. Like, I've kind of been critical on the Dark Crisis books, as I feel like some people have. Like, I feel like not a lot of people are reading it anyway. But with Crisis stuff, I want to cling on to DC and support them as long as I can, just because these have always been my characters since I started collecting. So I will always have that soft spot for DC. So anytime there's like a big Crisis or a big tie-in event, I'm probably going to peek in and see what it's all about, basically. So Dark Crisis, this is kind of like your villains versus villains issue by the time it's all said and done, which I did really enjoy that. Pretty much we got the Legion of Doom led by Lex Luthor. He's got a lot of the Flash rogues on his team and so on and so forth. And Black Adam is trying to appeal to them that, like, hey, this big thing's coming that took out the Justice League. It's going to take all of us working together to figure this out, because the good guys, they suck. It's led by John Kent. He doesn't know what he's doing. Lex Luthor, you're a genius. We're going to need your mental acumen to figure this out. Of course, villains being villains, they're not going to get along. And then you throw Deathstroke and his, I guess you can call it the Dark Army at this point. They got chains around them that basically control their auras and all that now. They're working for all the bad guys that are the real bad guys of this story. So, of course, the villains just fight each other instead of working toward a resolution. And meanwhile, our heroes, they're really pushing Nightwing hard in this book. Like, he looks like he's going to be the one to save the day by the end of all this. Or, like, he's going to be the true leader, but he's still got to get off his butt and do anything. But even Alan Scott is now even taking the approach of like, all right, Nightwing, like, we get it. Gar got shot in the face. He's not healing up right. You feel responsible, but you got to get over it because there's a crisis coming, and you're pretty much the only one left who can lead us out of all of this. So hopefully by issue 5, we'll finally get Nightwing leading all of the heroes and trying to figure out what they're going to do to avert this big dark crisis. Oh, and then there's a cool side storyline with Barry Allen, Hal Jordan. That one is a lot of fun. I really hope they ride that one all the way through, because that's just the brave and the bold. You got to love that team up. So they're trying to pretty much save the rest of the Justice League while the heroes on Earth are trying to save Earth, basically. So they got 3 issues to go. This is the halfway point. I feel like this is finally kind of going somewhere. And I enjoyed it. And actually, I did like this B cover as well. 0 Hour, one of my favorites as a kid. Then I picked up Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 132. Once again, I kind of feel like this book's starting to go somewhere as well. Shredder is in full training mode with the Splinter Clan. He's teaching them like all of these new tricks that they basically didn't know, all these forms of ninjutsu. They can like pretty much non-corporeally teleport now, so that's kind of neat because we've seen that used a lot in previous turtle books from this run, but yet our turtle friends have not figured that out. So now Shredder's just teaching them everything to get them ready for this Armageddon game where Crazy Rat King, he's getting all these dark forces together like Baxter Stockman, Krang, Leatherhead, and he's pretty much just going to come after Mutant Town big time. So they're really starting to build toward, I'm pretty sure issue 150 is going to be the big payoff here. So we got about 18 issues to go before that. So we'll see where they go between now and issue 150, because I'd imagine that's going to be like their next big like breaking point, kind of like City at War was going into issue 100. So really been enjoying this as well. Before I keep going, let me say hi to a few more people in the chat. We got Bad News Chris Barrett. He says, hey, yo, the best #1 issue is 1994 Marvel's issue #1. And we got Gore Vidal. What's going on, Gore? He says, evening, guys. Thank you for joining us. Really appreciate seeing Gore in the chat. He's definitely one of the best. Let's see. Jay Hood says, wow, that DC event sounds lousy. LOL, the big two have to go a long way and draw me back in. Yeah, that's why I'm just like clamoring on the hope that they at least do something kind of cool or tell a good story, because at least like Joshua Williamson at least seems like one of the more consistent writers they have at DC. Like I'd say it's like what him and Tom Taylor kind of like all they got left, I feel like. So yeah, we'll see where they get to by issue 7. Obviously the last few have kind of been, I feel like since what, like I can't remember the name of the one that was in like 2015, but I know like Convergence, like I did not like Convergence whatsoever, but at least it gave us some cool books out of DC Rebirth. So yeah, like I really haven't cared too much since, like, I mean, Infinite Crisis was probably their best true tie-in. Forever Evil, that's what I was trying to think of. Forever Evil was not half bad. I enjoyed that for what it was. All right, I read Forever Forward. Just got done reading this right before the stream started. I was curious about this book because it's written by Zach Kaplan, who did Point of Earth, which is another very good read. This is from Scout Comics, which I think this is my first Scout comic ever. So I did enjoy this. Basically, these people are celebrating the scientist's birthday. He just wants to go back to work, but then they decide to help him basically, and he's working on time travel. And as you can guess, the machine gets activated, time travel goes wrong. They end up getting thrown 33 years into the future where there's a civil war and Russians are shooting up the streets. They're getting ready to go after them. So they have to activate the machine again. They find out it only goes forward in intervals of 33 years. So they get teleported to like 2088 in the hurricane where the machine's blowing away from them. That's where the comic kind of just cuts off. It doesn't say to be continued. There's no like letters column. The issue just kind of plain ends there. So kind of an interesting way to, I don't know if that's a Scout Comics thing or what, but yeah, I enjoyed it for what it was though. Got the Facsimile of Detective Comics 27. I heard these DC facsimiles are pretty good. I just decided to throw this on my pull list just because I wanted to try one of these out. It's pretty cool. Like they replicate the ads and that stuff. What's not cool is the $6.99 price tag on all these, but I guess, you know, those Golden Age books obviously had a lot more content than today's titles. So yeah, I get it if you add up the page count and the quality they're trying to put into these things. It is like I believe they put the cardstock cover on that and everything. And then I just got some cover buys here. I've been getting these Harleys. So I got Harley 21. Really like this one because, you know, not only is it Ryan Sook, but Brian Bolin did, you know, the original cover and this cover. So thought that was really cool. So I've been collecting these Harleys lately. And then I got the annual, I guess they just number them by year now again. Harley Quinn 2022 annual. And I kind of like this cover when I was viewing it, but I don't know what they're going for on this. If it's just like a rustic type motif, which I don't know why, because the original copy came out in like what, 2002. So it's not that old, but it just looks like if you look at it up close, which I don't think my camera is going to show what I'm talking about, but if you bought a copy, maybe you can figure it out for yourself. But it just looks like this was almost like photocopied and then photocopied again and photocopied again and then put on here. It's like the quality of this cover, I don't get it, basically. It just does not look great in my opinion, even though like on my camera now, I think it looks fine with the Mylar bag and the camera and everything. But looking at just the book up close, it just looks like they got lazy with the print quality on the cover itself. So just a minor nitpick there, I suppose. Saw this Darth Vader. I believe this is an Alex Maleev cover. It's really cool watercolors on this. So that was some cool Vader art. So I got that. And then a dollar buy for my comic shop this week. Thundercats number 2 of 5. You get some really cool Jim Lee cover drawing Lion-O. What's not like there. Plus you get some Ed McGuinness interiors. So if you haven't collected this mini-series and you're a Thundercats fan, really cool mini-series, by the way. Really enjoyed it back in the day. Let's see what we got in the chat. Chris Barrett says, cockadoodle to Tom Taylor. Okay. All right, so we'll go ahead. We'll just go ahead and get into a couple pickups here. So we'll start with some antique store stuff and go from there. Managed to go to one of my sweet spots, I guess, if you will. $2 bins at this antique shop. So this guy never disappoints. I actually bumped into him on this trip and talked to him for a while and all that stuff. And he was happy I left with a really nice stack. And Chris Barrett says, Tom Taylor, the Red Rooster. All right. Close enough, I guess. Maybe he's the descendant of Terry. I decided to start just run filling this Swamp Thing run past the Alan Moore stuff. And this guy had a whole bunch of Swamp Thing the day I went. So I'll just go over them and kind of a random order here. Here's Swamp Thing 1991 annual. Just thought that was a cool looking book for $2. Issue number 79. I need to read more of this post Alan Moore stuff because the more Swamp Thing I read, the more I become a fan of the character. Just, obviously Alan Moore's run is legendary, but I want to see what happens after that. Kind of like the Grant Morrison Animal Man stuff. One day I'm going to start run filling that. I really want to see, what happens after, Grant Morrison kicks Animal Man out of his mansion or whatever. And, what happens to Swamp Thing after Alan Moore is done with him. So, here's number 70. You got Constantine on the cover there. Really cool looking cover on issue 69. And yeah, he had a very good chunk of this run. So I decided, you know what? I made the trip. Why not just go ahead and pick him up? I think there's even more than that coming up. But I also finally found this Punisher 100 super shiny metal. I guess that's, hey, look at that. Legend, if you're still driving listening, we got a newsstand. Newsstand on the Punisher 100. So shout out to Comp Man Andy. I'm guessing he probably liked this book. But yeah, I just love the 90s shiny glory there. So sorry for blinding people out there. And shout out to the Mastodon wherever he's at. He always encourages me to get these Weird War Tales. So I found Weird War Tales number 100. So pick that up. And then I've been looking for this book, I think, for a minute. It's Tales of the Green Lantern Corps number 3. I believe this has the Alan Moore story where he kind of hints what the Blackest Night is to come, which Jeff Johns then used to create the Blackest Night series down the line. So this is kind of where all of that started. So been looking for this one for a minute because it's got, you got some really cool names on this one. John Byrne, Jose Garcia Lopez, Alan Moore, Kevin Nolan, Bill Willingham. Yeah, I'm going to buy that book because I love Green Lantern too. And then we got more from the same store. So they actually gave me 2 bags. That's how you know you bought too much. Found this for $1 from a different vendor. Actually, it was 50 cents. I need to figure out if I can get this 50-cent sticker off. There's Warlock and the Infinity Watch. There's something key about this book, I guess. I can't remember what it is, but I knew I had to have it for 50 cents because I had the first issue, but I never see the second issue. And I guess, if you're collecting some minor keys, yeah, I'm not going to try to get that sticker off while we're doing this because it's already peeling the wrong way. But yeah, for not being in a bag and board, I just got to get that sticker off, but it's in pretty good condition. So there's that. Back to the other vendor, which I bought everything else from. I had this Marvel Age. Oh, we can open this and figure out if there's a trading card inside. So we got Marvel Age 118. No, Chris, I don't believe it's the first Pip the Troll. I think I have that book, but I can't remember what it is right now. So the more I collect these Marvel Ages, the more I get into them. So looks like we got George Perez cover. He did the Hulk on this cover. And then it looks like the card is a Joe Jusko Hulk from 1992. So this has never been taken out of the bag. So once again, more fun polybag 90s goodness. We're just going to put that back in the bag real quick before we keep going with more. And of course, these are the bags I hate. It's got the little glue label on the side that sticks to everything. And yeah, so there we go. Luckily, it's already in a bag of its own, so I don't have to worry about glue pool or whatever you want to call it. All right. J Hood says Pip the Troll is in Strange Tales or something like that. Yeah, that's what I thought as well. Chris Barrett says, I don't like the new Street Profits blue ring gear. Yeah, I'm used to them in red as well. We got the Shadow issue number 4. So that was a cool Mia Kaluta cover. One day I'm going to start collecting these Shadow comics. I just keep seeing them for, $2, $3 max. So sometimes if I see price points like that on Bronze Age DC, I just end up starting to run fill the stuff. So this is going to be the start of a run fill. We'll see if I keep finding them. Then with Secret Wars heating up, I got some more Secret Wars books. So I got issue number 3, the action figure variant. Figure I'd be kind of a dummy to leave these laying for $2 a piece. There's issue number 4. I'm starting to get a bunch of hoard the extras of the Secret Wars. Here's issue 5 of the original. I still need to finish this. I don't know why I was on a streak of getting these read, and then I haven't read issues 11 or 12 yet. So maybe I'll try to do that tonight before I go to bed. But I got an issue 12. Really cool Dr. Doom on there. Speaking of Doom, I had to pick up this Avengers 332. This movie coming along. I got full on Dr. Doom fever, I guess, at this point. I am ready to see a really cool version of Dr. Doom on the big screen. So now I see him and just want to read more Fantastic Four. And then this Batgirl special is just laying in there for $2. I'm like, yeah, I'll take that. Why not? It's a great book. One of the most iconic Batgirl books there is, in my opinion. Secret Wars 6. So I guess another John Tyler Christopher variant. Hickman Secret Wars number 3. So I think I actually sold this one. So now I got it back in the collection. Another random Green Lantern. It's like the Joe Staton cover, issue 155. And then I think I actually bought more of these today. We'll find. Stay tuned to see if I bought these from Half Price Books, because I keep finding these Viltrumite War Invincibles, so I keep buying them. So there's issue 71. I think I remember seeing 74 in a pile coming up, and then issue 78. So like I said, I love Invincible. It's a great book. And now that somehow, I guess, the show being a hit, people are starting to trade them, get them in bins, sell them on eBay, and so on and so forth. Speaking of that, let's just go to the Half Price Books pile because it's right here, and I need to clear this little desk space so I can set more stuff down. So decent time at Half Price Books. We had one of their bag sales where you buy a bag for $20 and whatever you fit in, it's yours, basically. I've just started avoiding those sales because most of the stuff I buy is cheap enough anyway. I don't spend $20 on a trip, and I just hoard a lot more stuff that I don't need. So usually I just end up like, I'll just go pay 20 cents or $1 for the stuff and shop by myself instead of being shoulder to shoulder with people. And yeah, still in the post-COVID era, I don't want to do that. So they had some good finds today because pretty much they restocked, or they're slowly restocking. It was fairly empty in the comic section because they went wild. Like half of it was empty, which is good because I got tired of seeing the same stuff every week. But they did restock some. So here's what I found on this trip. They had this for $2, Avengers 193. Figured why not for $2. Got this Avengers number 9 with the like the Infinity Gauntlet story. I already have the one with Iron Man with the Infinity Gauntlet, so I figured this would be a cool book to have with that. Maybe my find of the day. I got some Simpsons number 1, so I got Radioactive Man number 1 for $1, and I think I see the free poster peeking out in there. So I don't know if my other copy of this had the poster in it, but fully glows in the dark. It's a great book to have in the collection for any Simpsons fan. Then I rolled across this. I didn't have this one already. Itchy and Scratchy number 1. So now at least I have Simpsons number 1, Radioactive Man number 1, and Itchy and Scratchy number 1. So very happy with that find. And then more Invincible. Actually, I think I only bought 74 twice. So I think I may actually have come close to completing the Viltrumite War arc. There's 73, 77, and then not part of the arc, but still cool, 85. And then, yeah, there's 74. I think I remember that cover from like 2 minutes ago. They had this Bowstar Galactica #1 from the 70s for $3. I already have this issue as well, but this is actually a really good looking copy for $3. And I know the copy I have it was a $1 copy all day. I found it for $1. It looked like someone stepped on it, but I love me, especially like I love me the later Bowstar Galactica that was on the Sci-Fi Channel in the 2000s. So always have a soft spot for Battlestar. Got this G.I. Joe 22. Just love the Michael Turner cover on that. I actually have the black and white Aspen Wizard World Chicago variant. So I think I may have had the color version already in the collection. I don't remember. So I just picked it up again because it was $1. And then I got this Green Arrow 17 where I think Jeff Lemire took over the title with Andrea Sorrentino on this issue. So not the first Diggle, but I think this was the arc that brought him in finally. And Chris Barrett says, does it still glow in the dark? I'll get back to you on that one. All right. So before we'll save the WhatNot stuff for last, because I do want to get into tonight's topic since we're kind of rolling along here pretty quickly. Number ones that are number one in our hearts. So, and I want to preface something else. This list, it has to do with good reading material, not necessarily the value of the book. So obviously there's like, it's like Super Spider-Man #1, Superman #1. Yeah, those are valuable number ones. We're just talking fun reads, and obviously everyone's got their own list, and I'll probably think of like 5 other books after this video that I'm like, oh, why didn't I put that on the list? Or why didn't I do this or do that? So I just kind of picked 5 comics that came to mind, and I got them in a stack. So that's what we're sticking with. And I guess these are no particular order. And Chris Barrett's asking, so TMNT 1 doesn't count. It absolutely does count. That was going to be my intro. So last week I talked about TMNT #1 being maybe the best issue #1, but then I started to think of a few other options. So TMNT 1, the original Mirage 1984 book, I think is an excellent first issue #1 to put on top of that list. So these are 5 more, I guess I could say. And we got the Art Chemist. What is going on, man? Nice to see you in the chat tonight. Missed your live stream the other. I saw you were live streaming, I think either last night or night before last. So definitely have to try to catch the next one. So sub up the Art Chemist for some cool art for sure. All right, we're just gonna start on top of the pile here. So, and this is one. As soon as it hit me, like, oh yeah, I gotta put this one on the list. The Walking Dead issue #1. Fortunately, I don't have the actual first printing, so this image first will have to be my display for the issue #1. But obviously, this kicked off a whole world of craziness between the success of the book and how that blew up and became probably, the Ninja Turtles of the modern era, basically. Like one of your top tier 4-figure books for sure. But just if you look at this issue alone, like it's a really cool issue. It starts off with Rick waking up in the hospital after getting shot on duty. Him and Shane were in a shootout basically, and he took a bullet. He got in a coma, and then he woke up, and the world ended while he was in a coma. Like that's a stick right there. Like you're going to keep reading from that point. Like it's such a good hook. If you're a first-time reader of this, like you're going to want to keep reading and going through this journey with Rick now that he's like. You're in that world with him now. You don't know what's going on in that world either. So once you come in and see Rick in the hospital trying to escape, you don't know what's through the other side of those the double doors that say like, do not enter. Cause there's, we know now that there's zombies on the other side. Cause we've read the trades, hardcovers. We've seen the series. It's been replicated many times over at this point. And then the whole thing just goes from there. He meets the father and son that helps him out and kind of explains things not only to him but to the reader. So The Walking Dead absolutely has to be on this list in my opinion. Let's see what Chris Barrett's options are. So he's got Marvel's 1994. I almost did put the New 52 Batman on my list. I considered definitely doing that one. I picked a different DC book that probably no one will agree with but myself. But yeah, that was a great start to maybe one of the best Batman, maybe the best Batman run of the modern era. Walking Dead, we just talked about that. Hulk and Warrior. Now, I got to know which Hulk you are referring to, Barrett. So I'm curious to see which Hulk you're going to say is the best number one. We talked about Turtles, so I had to put this Turtles on the list as well. It's the one I showed last week. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles number one, the IDW run, the longest running TMNT book in history. And it's that for a good reason. I strongly feel like that this Turtles might be better than the one I talked about last week. But yeah, I could go both ways on that. At least the first one, like you didn't know what a Ninja Turtle was when you read that one. So they had to explain so much in one issue. This, they had a little bit more breathing room, obviously, because you're going to go into this book knowing who the Turtles are just based off of past experience. But if for whatever reason you lived under a rock or you're just a younger person who didn't grow up in the 80s, they still do the explaining for you, but they throw a twist on the origin where they introduce a character named Old Hob, and he gets mutated as well, but then he steals away Raphael, and you're like, whoa, wait a minute, it's not all four Turtles are going to be trained by Splinter. Like, they don't know where Raphael is, so then you got to keep reading, like, how are they going to get Raph on the team? And, you know, Raph meets Casey Jones, it gets him wrapped up in everything, and it's a really cool just tweak on the origin that makes you want to keep exploring this run. So it's a very good first volume and a very good first issue as well. Chris Barrett clarifies with the original Hulk number one. Oh yeah, classic Stan Lee storytelling right there. Next up, this is I think, I got 2 DC picks technically. It's actually 3 technically. The rest of this, pretty much there's no Marvel. Because, we got 2 Vertigos and a DC. So we'll go Teen Titans number one. I picked the Jeff Johns era. Now, a lot of people are probably like, hey, you could throw the new Teen Titans, Marv Wolfman, George Perez on the list. Absolutely you could. That's an excellent number one. I almost pulled that one out as well. But I decided just to stick with this one because these were, a lot of the people who grew up in the 70s, if they read the Teen Titans, that was their characters growing up. For me, this was my characters growing up combined with those previous characters from the 1980 on up run. So I thought this is a really cool way to kind of reinvigorate the Teen Titans as you put all of the Young Justice guys and gal in there too. And you just have like this mega dream team of Teen Titans. And on top of that, like you're tweaking the origin of Connor Kent Superboy in a big time manner here, because this is where they reveal, oh, like, you remember that? Is he just cloned from some dude from Cadmus Labs? Nope, we're going to make his origin interesting again. He is a clone of Lex Luthor and a half clone of Superman. And the only person who knows that besides Lex is his best friend, Tim Drake, instead of himself. So that pretty much is like the hook I needed to get me back in the comics. Like, all right, now I got to keep reading this. I got to see what happens with Tim and Connor now that, like, there's going to be this awkward conflict between them, and they're keeping it from the rest of the team as well. Not only that, like, you still got Cassie thrown in there, former Young Justice teammate. She's kind of got a thing going on with Connor going through the run as well. And then you get to see Impulse become Kid Flash in the midst of all this as well, which sounds like just a minor thing, but is actually as really cool character development as well, because Deathstroke just shows up and shoots his kneecap off, basically. You got to see what happens after that. So really cool first issue. This might be my favorite Jeff Johns, and that's saying a lot because I really like his Green Lantern stuff too. But that first wave of Teen Titans he did from pretty much like issue 1 to pretty much almost issue 50. I think he made it right to 50, and then Sean McKeever took over. And it was okay after that, but not as great as it was throughout that, pretty much like from here to the Infinite Crisis arc where Connor dies, and then you see the 1 year later stuff with Tim and Cassie and all that. And pretty much Cassie carries the rest of the book all the way up to issue 100. It's really cool stuff. All right, we got J Hood Creative in the chat. He's giving me some picks here. So I actually saw one. I'll read it here in a sec, but there's another one that actually almost did make my list that I'll talk about here in a second. He's racking my brain to pick 5. The only one comes immediately to mind is the first great issue, the original Bronze Age Swamp Thing number 1, great from cover to cover. Yeah, that's another one. the Len Wein, Bernie Wrights, and Swamp Thing. Like, I mean, that pretty much took like this random one-shot idea and serialized it to make it what it is now, because, it wasn't Alec Holland right off the bat. So that Swamp Thing number 1 reinvented him, made him Alec Holland, and then eventually Alan Moore was able to play with that much later down the line. Strangers in Paradise, also a first grade issue. It's been a very, very long time since I've read any of that. And that is kind of on my bucket list of stuff to eventually get read, because I feel like that's a must-read comic for any fan, is Strangers in Paradise. And I have not read enough of that to say I've read it. But here's the one right here that I almost did throw on my list, just because I knew I didn't have much Marvel. I don't have any Marvel actually going through this. But I almost did throw some Daredevil on there, and that one would have been the Kevin Smith Daredevil #1, because not only like was that run great, it has so many good writers between Kevin Smith, Brian Bendis, Ed Brubaker, like just those 3 writers carrying you throughout that. And then Andy Deagle tried to run it into the ground, but luckily Mark Waid came in with his own #1, and that was great too. But yeah, that Kevin Smith, especially that first issue with, Karen Page resurfacing with her drug addiction, and, her begging Matt Murdock for, life again, and him having the power to forgive her after Born Again, basically. It's a lot of powerful stuff in a little bit of time, because Kevin Smith wasn't on that book for that long, but while him and Joe Quesada were, it was a really good run that Daredevil fans should absolutely check out for sure. I almost put New Avengers by Brian Bendis on there, but I feel like the first issue is just tons of build up to the rest of the arc. So that's why I took that off last second, actually. Jade says, I need to hunt down that run of John's Teen Titans. Oh, yeah. I mean, there are some issues you can leave out of that run. Like, there's like some Gail Simone, Rob Liefeld stuff for some reason with Hawk and Dove. Like, you can just leave those in the dollar bins. Just get the Kevin Smith. Just get the Jeff Johns stuff, Mike McCone, and then the Tony Daniel stuff is great too. And then Chris Barrett says, you and Kevin Smith want to get high with me and Road Dogg and Big Boss. Now he's just mentioning wrestlers. Chris Barrett, Kevin Smith hasn't written anything worth consuming since he started smoking. Yeah, I mean, you're kind of not wrong. Like, I feel like, he had the 1-2 punch in early 2000 with or maybe even late 90s, I guess, with Daredevil. And then, of course, the Green Arrow run on the DC side of things. Both were really good. And then they tried a little bit more with the Black Cat Spider-Man miniseries that took 4 years or so to come out. And yeah, they're talking about yoga. I still have not actually sat down and watched Yoga Hosers. I don't think I'm ever going to want to watch Yoga Hosers. Maybe one day I will check that out, but I think I watched the Goat one. Whatever the one before Yoga Hosers one, and that was no fun. And then J Hood says, "What about Daredevil and Bullseye? 1 issue and gone." Yeah, I didn't even mention the whole Bullseye arc of that too. Yeah, just when I think someone dies off screen, if I remember right, because it's been a minute since I've read that. I think someone gets killed by a playing card, like Gambit's there or something, and then it's just they cut to the final splash page of one of the issues, and it's just Bullseye sitting there, asking her, he's just okay, who's next? And once Bullseye gets brought in, Daredevil's in a lot of trouble. All right, yeah, the Walrus, that was it. Yeah, I watched part of the Walrus. I'm like, yeah, Kevin Smith is officially high. Good for him. And then we'll go ahead and talk about the one in the thumbnail. This is the main reason I actually decided to revisit my question, basically, because as soon as I logged off last week, I was like, oh, yeah, what's a better first issue than this? The Sandman #1. And no, this is especially relevant lately because it's on Netflix now. It's kind of almost a carbon copy of the issue is the first episode of the Netflix series. And it's actually encouraged me once again to go listen to the Amazon Prime audiobook, which is maybe even better than the Netflix series. It's got a really cool cast as well with James McAvoy as Morpheus. It's really cool. It's very well produced as well. So if you like the series on Netflix, I highly recommend the audiobook as well. It's just on Audible basically for free. So I recommend that too. But the fact that I've read this book, I've listened to the audiobook, and I've watched the series all within the last couple of weeks. I kind of had to throw this one on the list. And now this might be kind of cheating. It is a supersized first issue. I can't remember the page count on this, but it's a pretty beefy book, to say the least. But it's a really good read. It pretty much explains so much of what's going on in this world. You know, kind of gives you the concept of like, what is the Endless? It introduces these characters, you know, especially Dream, of course. It alludes to Death, of course, what you meet later in issue 8. And you just get this crazy story that eventually it kind of explains how truly powerful and important Dream is in this universe. So they do a lot, and Chris Barrett clarifies it is 40 pages. But yeah, I had to throw this on the list because I've absorbed the content of this so many times over the last month that I had to put this on the list. And then the last one I had here, I feel so bad for Brian K. Vaughan because whoever made this series jacked it up. That's Why the Last Man, #1. And I think if I had to pick a #1 right this second today, this might be my favorite #1 right now, because I was just thinking about kind of, you know, going back to time at Walking Dead, like that Rick waking up in the hospital is such a good hook for the reader to make you want to pick up that next issue and go through this world for the first time and discover all the craziness that's about to ensue. And Why the Last Man turns it up notches, in my opinion. Like there's so much good stuff in this with, you know, they kind of give you this normal world, but there's this like ominous counting down that's going on in all black and white text throughout the pages. Like, you know, when your book's called The Last Man, something really bad is about to happen. When you're in this average world, there's a countdown. People are living their normal lives. And then you start to get to the tail end of the issue and boom, every man is dead but one. And then it's just like, what you're asking yourself, like, what has happened? Why are these people dead? Why are the women the only one left? Why is Yorick, this complete clown, the only one left? And his monkey Ampersand, who's throwing crap at him, why are they the only two left? So you're going to want to read the next issue to try to figure out why. So, and if you watch the series, which I gave the series a chance because I've been looking forward to it since, you know, the mid 2000s. I always said they should make the series, and they did. And it, like, they lost all of that suspense when they decided to open up the shot of the first series with, oh, here's what it looks like after all the men have died. Let's go back in a flashback and show you how we got here. So instead of counting down and building toward this like crazy event that's about to happen, they just showed you it's already happened, and then they rewind it. And Yorick isn't even the main emphasis. It's his mom, who's the politician. Just because she was played by Diane Keaton, she had to have more screen time. So if you watch the series like and didn't care for it, you might still give the comic a chance because it is vastly superior just in pacing and storytelling alone, let alone everything else. So yeah, those are my 5 picks that I just randomly came up with. So hopefully you guys enjoyed those. And please, like I saw, thank you, Jay Hood and Chris Barrett, for sharing your picks. If you guys are watching this on a rewind, please put them down below. I'd love to see what you guys, or you don't have to pick 5, just pick 1, 2, 10, 20. Go for it. Chris Barrett says, Comic Core Story Core Review. The Why the Last Man was such an emotional roller coaster. And yes, we all miss Caleb Comics Murphy for sure. Still can't believe that, to be honest with you, Chris. This sucks. I mean, it just sucks. There's nothing else I can say about it. But yeah, Story Comic Core, missed that show. Pretty much was made so they could review Why the Last Man. I got to be a guest host on one of those episodes. That was a lot of fun. Yeah, so let's go ahead and get into the final long part here where I need to delete the WhatNot app. So we got a lot of online purchases here from WhatNot, but when the books are cheap and they keep finding you, sometimes you just gotta hit that bid button when the stuff's cheap or, you know, affordable, or you know you're not gonna find it in the wild. Basically, we'll start with this. I actually got a little set of toys here, so. And I did not know the origin of this. It was actually purchased from Kevin Eastman directly. So here's the certificate of authenticity from Kevin Eastman. I guess he's changed his logos now. Now it just says SMZ Comics, I guess, is responsible for that. And here's the toy. It's from Heavy Metal Toys. It is, I guess, Simon B. Oh, God, I can't even say names anymore. Simon Beasley and Kevin Eastman. I guess they based a book on themselves called The Adventures of Biz and Buzz. So I was hoping to be able to read and show off the comic that I bought along with this, but apparently they shipped them separately. I got the toys, but not the comic yet, which is also, by the way, it is double signed by both of them. So I thought that's the main reason I wanted this, just because, you know, they both charge like, I think $20 a signature for both, like each of them now. And I got this for cheaper than their signatures if I bought this and then got it signed by them at a con or something. So we'll read the gist of what's going on here, because I did have a little plot synopsis on the back here. So it says, rebuilt after a really devastating war, the planet of 2081 has given rise to two advanced technologies, including the creation of animated cyborg gladiator pets, two intergalactic Civil War heroes hell-bent on protecting a vanishing way of life. Awake, naked, lost, hungry, and upset, unbeknownst to anyone, an elite military squad revolt after they have fallen in love with their commander, Hammond, and set out to take over a top-secret cloning facility occupied by villainous guards and deformed genetic experiments. The only thing standing in their way and their 40,200-foot tall guards is Biz and Buzz, torn between their love of the last remaining woman on the planet, Pandy, and battle to save mankind, and humanity's fate hangs in the balance, or the real story. On a trip to Japan to write and design a video game, drunk off their asses on sake somewhere with the Pacific Rim, Simon Beasley doodled a cartoon version of himself and his buddy Kevin Eastman and called them Biz and Buzz. The geniuses still haven't figured out the story of them yet, but thought the action figures looked cool, so they made them. So they're the figures. So I thought this is just hearing Kevin Eastman talk about it and try to explain it, you know, based on this plot synopsis, was a lot of fun. And the fact that, like, on his WhatNot auction, people bid on everything. Everything just jumps up to like $60, $70 plus $100. And like, this was like 30 something for two signatures. Like, yeah, I'll get that, because I'm kind of a mark for Kevin Eastman, if you guys didn't know, by all the turtle stuff. Let's see what Chris Barrett's saying here, and we'll go over the actual comic pickups. Says, I don't think you actually are thanking me for my 5 because of Warrior. The ongoing series that was Warrior and the explanation of Destrucity. Thank you for reminding me that Destrucity is a thing, Chris. And he says, well, Smurf's still with us. That's true. He's off working on a farm somewhere far off, no intersex. Kind of like those wrestlers who are on permanent tour of Japan. Okay. So got some, looks like some ratio variants here from one seller. I think most of these were like $3 a piece. I think I paid $10. We'll just start with the $10 one. I think it was a 1 in 500, I think he said. The Dark Knight Returns, a Gold Child, Frank Miller, but it's a 1 in 500 Andy Kubert. I kind of just wanted to read this, actually. I don't think I have a copy of the Golden Child stuff that they did. I think it took place before or after Dark Knight 3. I think they did 3 of them finally. So I'm like, yeah, I'll check this out. It's still Frank Miller writing it, so for better or for worse. I believe this is a 1 in 100 Wonder Woman number 39, Emmanuel Lupacino cover. A con variant exclusive of Batman TMNT. I have just never seen this before, and usually if it's a TMNT book I've never seen, I'm probably going to buy it if it's pretty affordable. Got another copy of this. I need to clean this one up, though. It's the second printing of the first Jennika as a Turtle, issue 95. Always a good book to have in any Turtle collection. Amazing comic variant. Once again, just a random $3 book. Turtles Adventure, Animated Adventures 20. This was Spider-Man 2099 Exodus Alpha Unknown Variant. Wow, that's a mouthful. Cool Carrie Andrews cover, though. Really like that. It was $3. This one has a little bit of battle damage. I can't remember if the seller went over it or not. It was only $3, though, so I'm not too heard about it. Like X-Men 17 Unknown Comics variant, swipe of the Andy Kubert cover from the adjective. I'm not even gonna try to say that word again. The 90s X-Men run, around issue 28 or something like that. I always like to collect these sketchbooks. I got a Rob Liefeld sketchbook for like $5, I think. So yeah, and then I got another copy of this because I think this is an upgrade. I actually bought it from the same seller, so Batgirl print over here. Bought a copy of it like 2 weeks ago. He had another one that went for pretty much opening bid this time, because last time I paid $10 for it, which is a pretty good deal for this book. Because number one, I think it's a 1 in 25. Number two, like, this book isn't for sale that often, and now I've bought it twice this month. So pretty happy with that. I'm actually give a copy to a buddy of mine who I know is a huge Babs Tar fan. So now I have that second copy to give. And then the rest, we're pretty much going right to like either the Bronze or Silver Age for the rest of this, I believe. And I'll be removing a lot of Post-its because sellers love to put Post-its on all of their books. So I got 4 books off one WhatNot seller, which actually from the same seller, I have I won one of his giveaways, which is a pretty cool book. Hopefully I'll be able to show that next week. But he had some random silvers and bronzers. So I got Detective Comics issue number 344, which I think only like maybe $5 or $10. So not too bad. Like Bronze Age books now, especially when they're not like low grade or destroyed, like mid grade, like kind of starting to have trouble finding them for $10 or less. Like pretty much one of my honey holes is just gone now. So, and the guy I bumped into at the antique shop, he's like, I can't find Bronze Age Marvel anymore. So sorry, dude. This is Blackhawks 223. Actually, I almost bought more Blackhawks. I'm like, no, dude, you got too many books as it is. And he had a few Spider-Mans that went for like, I think maybe $3 or $5 as well. 167. It does have some battle damage up there, but got to run fill the Amazing collection. And then the last one I got from him was 164. So once again, just run filling the Amazing when I can, where I can. And this one's in pretty good condition. So happy with that purchase. Now this next one is an eBay purchase, which I do need to rebag. We'll go ahead and take it out of the bag though, because it's almost more about the back of the book. So I got an Albedo number 3, which I never see these Albedo comics, but the main reason I had to have this one, which I did get this from the same seller I bought the Turtles 1/3 print from. I got to be honest, it was kind of a low ball best offer, but then they just countered with $5 more. I'm like, yeah, sure, I'll take this thing. I got this for like 30 some odd dollars. But the main reason, it is the second appearance of Usagi Yojimbo. So not the first appearance. That's Albedo number 2. I think that's a 4-figure book at this point, I think. And then issue number 4, I think, is his second cover, something like that. But this is kind of like sandwiched in between as the second appearance of Usagi Yojimbo. So I thought that was a really cool get for what I paid for it. So I might press this one out. It does have a few color breaking ticks. So got to do some research on that to see if it's really worth me sending off to CGC at some point. But really cool book to have. Pretty rare book from what I could tell. And then actually I got these a next whole big stack from, I believe it was Cornfield Comics on WhatNot, which the noteworthy thing about that is they're pretty much just like right up the road from me, close to Indianapolis. So these books took like 1 day to get here. So I got some classic Cap, which I've probably been to this half price books too. But luckily I didn't pay too much more than he paid for these books originally. So I got Cap 120. So 15-cent Cap. I couldn't say no for the price he was offering these at. And some of these might actually have been $5 too. So most of these, I probably got these on an average of like, we'll say $8 a book pretty much from this guy, which seems steep for, what I'm used to, but there's some really good books in here. 132, another 15-cent Cap. 127. 129. Sorry, I'm also taking off the Post-its as I'm going to. 194. So do have some Kirby in there. Then 195. So there's that. And then I think these are just these are the first books he had up. So I think I forgot I had this one already, and it was the second appearance of Deathlock, but I think I got it for like either $5 or $10. I may have actually paid what he had on it. But this one's a much better quality copy. He also had issue 34 up for grabs. And then, I forgot I had this John Byrne Captain America 250. Just kind of got shuffled in there. Now here's the Chris Barrett book of the day, which I did not pay $20 for, luckily. Hawkman, number 3, I believe. I got to open it up because it's covered in stickers. We got some more Silver Age Hawkman, so my Silver Age Hawkman collection is growing. So there we go. It's in a really nice Mylar and actually put in a full back, I believe, too. So shout out to him. Usually got to do that myself. So there you go, Barrett. There's your Hawkman book of the week right there. Luckily, I don't think I paid $20 for it. He had a lot of steals on some Luke Cage. So I wasn't looking to run build any Luke Cage, but he had some. No one was bidding against me on these, so I just kept racking them up. It's got Hero for Hire number 3, which I'm really starting to like. These 20-cent like early 70s Marvel era books, rather than be the horror stuff. Like I got a lot of the Tomb of Dracula now, so now I got a lot of the Luke Cage too because I had issue number 4, issue number 7. I pretty much just like, I'm just going to grab them all like under issue 10. Like they had more and I could have kept going. Like I said, there's issue 10. And then here's issue number 17, which is when it becomes, when he officially becomes Power Man. So I guess if they ever call him Power Man, it's my lucky day. First Black Goliath, number 24. And then issue number 49 is right before it becomes Power Man and Iron Fist. So this is the final issue before that. And then here is the first appearance of Union Jack, Invaders number 20. And then I got a whole bunch of Mr. Miracle, which I would love to run build this run because it's just classic Kirby at this point. If I can get that issue 1, I might, and issue 2, because I think that's first big Barda. I might go after the full Mr. Miracle run because I got a good chunk of it right here. I got issue number 3, which is pretty much the first non-key issue because you got 1, then big Barda at number 2. Actually, come on, dude, no bag and board. Whatever. It's fine. It's still in great condition. First Female Furies with issue number 5. So I thought that was a pretty good steal there. Issue number 6. Issue number 7. Says his first appearance of Kanto. Issue number 8. And then the last one I think he had a few more, but at that point, like I'd gotten all these books from, like I spent enough money for that night. So I could have kept going with more Mr. Miracle, but like I had so many books I won from that auction. I'm just like, I need to like stop. Chris Barrett says, even if you paid $20 for the Hawkman, you'd be like Charlie Sheen and winning. Yeah, I figured that was going to be right in your wheelhouse for sure. Jade says, Mr. Miracle, Whatnot. I'm going to start checking out some Whatnot. So at least follow Cornfield Comics. He's a fellow Hoosier like us, J Hood. I know you would like his content. And if you've ever been to the Indiana Comic Con, I believe he has a booth set up there as well. So Cornfield Comics, I believe he's also on Instagram. But yeah, he usually does like he has tiered shows. Like he did like a Golden Age show where he sells like the Dell 4 colors and that stuff, and I think he had a Golden Age Western show. So those weren't necessarily my wheelhouse, but he did a Bronze Age show, which yeah, he only had like 10 viewers the whole time. So he's going to build his channel. He's going to have some great books. The more followers he gets, I'm sure. So let's give him a follow if you check into Whatnot. So, you know, some people do have a bad taste in their mouth post C2E2 on the app, and it's just, there's so many people on there now. Like, it's not like you're going to find something you like. So, but yeah, speaking of something I like, it's time to take a sip of water and wrap things up. So thank you guys so much for joining me on this very busy Friday night. And I know it's probably, you know, one of the last summer Fridays we'll get. I know everyone's busy, but thank you to the people who joined me. And we'll see you next time once I hit the gimmick here. Bye.